So last week Figma released a lot of new features during Config 2023 and I'm sure that you already heard about it. Variables, new prototypes, developer mode. But if you want to learn how to use variables and how to prototype with variables, well, look no further. In this video I will show you how to set up your variables in your design file and then also how to quickly use your variables to prototype. Before we start, of course, it's important to understand why these variables are so important. And for example, I already made a quick screen which can switch from light mode to dark mode simply by moving it from a frame to another. And I also made a responsive design which automatically, of course, readapts his card sizes when you change the width. And why these variables are a lot important and a lot innovative when it comes to prototyping. Well, if you are a designer, you know that prototypes back in time, and I say back in time, but it was until last week, were, as Figma likes to call them, like pasta prototypes, because basically you had to connect a lot of frames, and if you wanted to make a really realistic prototype, of course you had to do a lot of frames and connect really a bunch of them. But now all you need is to set up a few components and match them with variables. So now, after this really quick recap, I can show you how to set up your variables and how to use them to build a really realistic prototype. And if you like this type of content, of course, guys, make sure to give a like and subscribe to my channel. So now we are in my video playground, which is a file I made for projects I show on YouTube. And let's start with variables. Of course, you can see that now we have this local variables button. And if we click on the open variables, as you can see, I have already some variables set up because I use them for this quick project. As I said, this frame which switches between light and dark mode. As you can see, you just move your frame and everything changes. So if I reopen it, of course you see I have this, but I can create a new collection. And we can rename it variables demonstration. And now all you have to do is to click on create variable. So if you click create variable, as you can see, we see that we have four options. We have a color variable, number, string, or boolean. Let's say we want to create a color variable. Of course you give a name like primary, and then you simply select your color of choice and you add it. And then, of course, like in the last example, if you want to have light and dark mode, all you need to do is to click on this new variable mode, and then maybe you have a slightly red, like more desaturated, and then you call it like dark and light. And let's say we want to have like a number variable, and this is like products, and let's say of course the number is the same between dark and light, and this is really all you have to do. I think the interesting thing comes when you want to use these variables for a prototype. So let's clean this. Now let's say we are building an e-commerce app and I want to have a prototype where when I click on add to cart, I see the number of my available products decreasing, and of course when it's 0, my button becomes like unavailable. And this is pretty much the same example that Figma used on their YouTube channel to show prototypes, but I found out a quickest way to do it. So let's quickly set up our components to do this frame. So as you can see now, I quickly set up my e-commerce screen. Let's say I'm in the in this wooden table page, and so now we are missing the products available and the add to cart button. Of course, I know that this is not like a perfect UI, this is not a lot beautiful, but I just quickly made it for demonstration. So now let's add a text which says products or like tables available, and then we wanna maybe reduce the size a bit, and then we need another frame for the number, and maybe we just type 6 and we give it we make it like bold or maybe semi-bold, so that of course is clearer that this is the number that changes. And then we want to make a frame selection with auto layout and maybe 8 as a distance. Maybe this can become, maybe we change it. So now the first thing we have to do is that, of course, this number is just a number that we typed, so we want to change it with a variable. So what we have to do is that we open variables, we create a new variable, a number variable, and this we call it like products available, and then maybe we remove like the mode because we don't need it. And let's say we start with 6 available products. So now we click on our number and we apply, using this apply variable button, our number button, our numeric value. And so now this is set up. Now we wanna create the button which changes, of course, this number. As you can see, now I created my component with the variant. So we have our primary button, which is the add to cart button, which is of course shown when we have available products, and then we have the unavailable button. And as you can see, I already set the properties with this true and false boolean factor. Now we bring our button into our frame, but of course now, as you can see, if I open the prototype, this does nothing, of course, nothing changes. I can click it, but nothing happens. So the first thing that now we need to change is that when we click add to cart, of course, this number decreases. So we go to our variable, we click on our primary button, switch to prototype, click on interactions, and on top we set a variable. And this variable will affect the products available. So on top, products available will become products available, and you can see that we have already suggested actions, -1. And so now, if we play the prototype, if we click on add to cart, as you can see, these numbers decrease, but of course they also go in negative. So how to avoid this? Now we need to set that when we have 0 products available, of course the button switches to unavailable. Now what we have to do is that we need to create another variable, which will be a boolean variable, and we can call it like available, and the starting value will be true. Now we go back to our design, we click on our button, and we apply this new boolean variable to our button in our frame. Then we go back to our add to cart button, switch to prototype, and then we click on our interaction, and we can add another condition under the same interaction, which is something that previously wasn't possible. So we add an action and we add a conditional. So we write if products available equals 0, then set variable available is true, else set variable available is false. So this way, now when our products become 0, this button changes to the unavailable button. But since the unavailable button doesn't have interactions, of course the number will be fixed to 0, and so we won't go in negative numbers, and at the same time we will have our button that shows that we don't have products available. So sorry guys, I made a mistake. You have to set if products available is greater than 0, so set available to true, else set available to false. So now if we play our prototype, as you can see, I click on add to cart and the number decreases, and if I continue clicking, when I arrive to 0, the button says unavailable and I can't do nothing more. So this is a very quick demonstration of how variables and how prototypes with variables work. Of course, when you start understanding how all these new features work, you can really go crazy. I saw videos of people building little games using variables. So now pretty much the limit is your imagination. Now guys, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It's the best way to support me. And as always, may the force be with you. Ciao!